All right. All right. Good evening. Good evening to you, one and all. And we're grateful for you being with me. Yeah, it caught me closing the door. Oh well, nothing I can do about that. So be it. So be it. Let me look here and see what I have and where I am and all of that good stuff. And hey, Sherry, how are you this evening? Carletta, good evening to you. Gladys, good evening to you. It caught me doing what I needed to do. I didn't feel like listening to Lady Harrison beating me up, so that's all my fault. Yes, make sure you share. Carolyn, how are you? And Carolyn, how are you? Both Carolyns, how are you this evening? Minister Marcia, I pray that you're doing well and that your therapy is coming along fantastically. Good evening, Cora. Good to see you this evening. Good to have you guys with me. I appreciate it more than you know. We're going to wait for a couple of minutes. Debbie, how is your day? Terry A. Minister Sarah, how are you? It's just good to see y'all. Nancy, how are you doing this evening? Barbara, good to have you. Cecile, you doing okay? Minister Faye, good to see you coming on board. Grateful. Grateful, grateful, grateful. That's a song, isn't it? Yeah, grateful. Let's see, what do we have here? I am looking. Laverne, I hope you're doing well. If someone can, Gina, good to see you this evening. Stephanie, good to have you with us. If there are those who are on the website or on YouTube, if you could just give me a shout out, let me know that we have you on as well. And we welcome you to our midweek worship. And we're just grateful that you have taken time out of your schedule to be with us on this evening. So I'm going to do a couple of things here and go from there. Because I really, I'm kind of like, what's the word I want to use? I'm overwhelmed with joy. Hey, Denise, how you doing? I really am. I'm just ecstatic. Thea, how are you? Pat, how you doing? Oh, and as you come on, I saw a few of you do it. Make sure you share. Make sure you share, so we can get this out to as many people as we possibly can in sharing on tonight. Roberta, how are you? Brittany, what's up, girlfriend? Make sure you share. Make sure you share. Daryl, good to have you with us this evening. And just thankful. Good, good. Just thankful. And I don't want to get into it. Sister Nan Williams, how are you? Good to have you watching us this evening. Thank you so much. Dolores, how you doing? Good to have you. Myrna, good to see you. 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 I got about a minute and then I'm going to go ahead. Ethel, I pray you had a great day today. And make sure you share. Make sure you share so we can get this out to as many people as we possibly can. Good evening, Robin. How are you? And go from there. Yep, it's 6:30. I'm overjoyed to an unbelievable magnitude, and the reason that I am is because of what the Lord has allowed the Union Church to do over the past 3 weeks. And when I think about it, when I think about the sacrifice, when I think about it was cold and rainy. Hi, Michelle. How are you? And there was like tremendous numbers of people there. We had people. Hey, Katrina from Florida. How are you? From different organizations. I don't want to start naming them because I know I'm going to miss one. And they came out, and when I tell you, we started at 9, and by 10:30 we were done. 1,100 boxes again, and God blessed us so well. Sister Nan Williams, good to have you on with us on tonight. Ayana, how are you? Janet, how you doing? Lavernon, how are you this evening? Valerie, hope you're doing well. And I just needed to share that. I needed to give a shout out to the men of Union, to the men of the Youngstown community. I got because I have members all over the place. One of the members drives up from Wellsville to be a part of what we've done. And so now I'm and everyone that that we've talked to, everyone that has shared with us, good evening, Minister Faye, has shared our process, has shared our attitude, which is excellent. We are joyful. We are grateful. We're not grumpy. We're not mean. And even in the midst of the cold and the rain, we still wanted to be a blessing to the community. And when I tell you, because the word that we got, excuse me, because I'm praying that I'm not catching a cold. Lady Harrison is with us. In the midst of the cold and the drizzle and all of that, we were out there cutting up. And it just, that level of camaraderie is rare in these days, but the Lord has blessed the Union Church with that. And then what happened was it became contagious, so that others, Sylvia Scott, so that others who were joining in with us became just as crazy as we were. And when I tell you we got it done, we got it done. And so that's the end of it, but I'm going to be checking into a couple of things and see what we can do as a church to continue this process. And I'm going to check into that and go from there. Just getting home. Cora. Oh, that's right. You guys were out delivering. And that's another thing I need to say. I have members who came by and got boxes to be a blessing to other people. They did deliveries, y'all. They did deliveries. They went to places, and it's just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. And I'm just grateful to God for that. And I just needed Erica. Good to see you. I just needed to share that. Make sure you share. Make sure you share so you can get everybody on tonight. That's all I can say. I was just reflecting on that. Every age group was out there. I think about Zacchaeus, who was out there, you know, helping to direct traffic, and all of the men. And yeah, Gina, we had a good time. We had a good time, and we tried to do the very best that we can. So, and then later on, some of the other organizations, they had women, and then we had other organizations that was handing out health information. I know Goalie organization was there a couple of times. We had D was her organization. I see that when I start mentioning stuff, I'm going to forget somebody. Every organization did a fantastic job for the past 3 weeks, to the point, that even the men are kind of like, we need to try to do this on a regular basis. So I'm going to try to get it done. I'm going to try to make it happen. And Minister Philippe, it just felt good. And it felt good because we looked out for the community, but also Union looked out for itself. And I'm grateful. And we weren't really like self-centered about it. Like, it was just all about us. But it was all about the community. Okay, enough of that. Listen, my question that I put out on Facebook earlier was, do you believe God has invested in you? And I think that is a relevant question, a relevant question, Maria. And the reason that I think it's a relevant question is because during this pandemic season, during this time of isolation, during this time of not really being able to socialize and to mingle and be a part of what we do, because we are a sociable people. We're not isolated people. We need to be able to hear from one another and to feed off of one another and good and then to be able to talk to one another and interact with one another and get on each other's nerves, whatever it took. We participated in that, and when I tell you, it was just. But you think about life, and you think about issues, and you think about trauma, you think about trouble, you think about all of these things that get in the way. You think about good evening, Jaleesa. You think about mistakes that you have made. You think about how people have abused you and misused you, and you think about how many things have gone wrong in your life. And that's one thing that the enemy always does, is he always causes us to calculate more about what's wrong than right. He's notorious at doing that, and that's why the song says, I won't complain, because when I do the evaluation, my good days really do outweigh my bad days. And that's an important thing for us to recognize and to understand. Last week I talked about the importance of making sure that you keep your word. My daddy used to say, your word is your bond, and if a man's word ain't no good, the man ain't no good. And I used to hear my dad say that over and over and over and over again. And of course, when you're young, you don't pay those things any attention, but they become relevant when you get older and you start interacting with people and you start finding out that everybody does not keep their word. Everybody does not do what they say, because they actually believe that who cares? Who cares if I do it? Who cares if I don't? And what we fail to understand is that we have made that commitment not to just men, but to God. And we got to remember that. And so in the midst of that, and I'm still praying, because the Lord has not showed me which book we're going to go into, but he's got me slow walking into the end of this book. And the one thing, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about, a couple of things I want to share with you. Make sure you share, make sure you share, make sure you get it out there, okay? You've got to, in order for you to know that God has invested in you, and when I talk about invested in you, there is a plan for your life. God has already preordained that there are some things that you are to accomplish. There's some efforts that you're supposed to be in. There's some goals and some objectives and some interactions and some purposes that God has placed in you. Good. Thank you, Veronica. I appreciate that for letting me know that we're doing good there. And so in the midst of all of that, what we've got to be able to do is get past the bumps in the road. We got to get past the stuff that tripped us up. And we actually have to look at how God has been a part of our existence, our life, our formation from the cradle until we make it to the grave. Okay? And what's important is to make sure that our hearts are in the appropriate place whereby we will be able to receive, and then after we have received, we can produce. And maybe one of the reasons why there's not much productivity that may be happening in people's lives is due to the fact that the ground whereby opportunities come and fall on have not adequately been prepared to receive the seed. If you know anything about Matthew chapter 13, verses 20 and 21, you see very clearly that there's a danger, Addie, there's a danger of a lack of productivity when you've allowed the ground to not be prepared to receive it. Y'all know that's the parable of the sower of the seed, and it talks about different grounds that the sower plants on, and in the midst of him planting the seed, we see quite clearly that some fell on stony ground, some fell on hard ground, some fell on grounds where it wasn't properly prepared, and then some fell on good ground. And so it's not the seed's fault that it doesn't grow. I wish, and that's something that we've got to learn how to do, because we've got to get past I'm too old. Now, granted, as time goes on, things that you can do change, and where many of us struggle is when we have not recognized the shift in the season. Okay, I hope y'all with me right now. I hope y'all catching what I'm saying, because what you may have done, and when I talk about this, I'm not talking about cleaning your house, I'm not talking about any of that stuff. What I'm talking about is much of what you did 20 years ago may have prepared you for what you should be doing now, but the problem is the ground had not been appropriately prepared due to the fact that you probably have paid so much attention to all the bad that you don't see how God took the bad and worked it together for your good. Are y'all with me so far? You got to recognize and understand that. If we say, like Paul says, Barbara, all things work together for good to them that love God and are the called according to his purpose, then we have to remember that God uses the rape. God uses the molestation. I know y'all not ready for this. God uses the incest. God uses the alcoholism. God uses the drug addiction. God uses the abandonment. Every bit and thing that comes into your life has been used to mold you. Now somebody might say, well, wait a minute. Yeah, because, good evening, Sharon, we are free will agents, which means what? Y'all real quiet. I know I'm a little deep right now, but I got to deal with what I got to deal with. We are free will agents, which means God's not going to come down here and slap somebody when they do you wrong or when you do wrong. Y'all with me, Goalie? Here's what happens. Because God is sovereign and he's in the past, present, and future all at the same time, he sees every episode and moment of your life. And because he sees it, he orchestrates how to use every bad and crazy moment in your life to develop the good in you. And see, what we've got to learn how to do and what we've got to comprehend is let us quit complaining about the bad and let's start looking at how God brought us through the bad. Oh, that's some powerful stuff right there. Okay? Because the truth of the matter is, if you are watching me on Facebook, if you are watching me via streaming, if you're watching me on YouTube, you didn't kill yourself. If you're a part of the audience in the learning sessions, you didn't take yourself out. And for those that tried, you didn't succeed. Oh, bless his name. And the reason you didn't succeed is because God is using every incident. And the problem is, I've got to quit looking at all of the because in the midst of that, I've had some good times. I've had some powerful moments. I've had times when people have sown into me whereby the ground is just now prepared to bring about, Minister Michael, some fruit, some productivity. That's what we got to remember. Some things you've got to learn how to get past in order for you to press toward that which God has preordained for you to be. So in the midst of that, he takes every bad decision. He takes every good decision. He takes every moment of your life, up, down, in, out, backward, crazy, whatever, drunk, high, lunatic, out of your mind, in your mind, whatever it is. He takes every, single one of them, and he melds them together in a process that makes you better, because it took, y'all better catch this, it took those things to bring out the best in you. Because you know, can I talk about this for just a second? People who have never been tried by life don't know how to live. Okay. I wish I had a couple of people that could catch where I'm coming from. If you've never been tried by life, you don't know how to live. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention any names. If you've been privileged all of your life, like somebody has been, you don't have a sensitivity for people other than people just like you. But when you've been tried, when you've been tested, when you've been abandoned, when you've been mistreated, when you've been hurt, when you've been crushed, it creates within you an ability to be able to not just empathize, but you can sympathize, because there's a difference between the two. When I sympathize, it's because I've been where you are. Empathy is an external observation of something that you've never done. That's why it's dangerous to tell folk, I know how you feel, and you've never been there. If you've never lost a loved one, if you've never gone through changes, if you've never had moments when you were just about ready to lose your mind, you have absolutely no way, shape, form, or fashion to identify with other people. It requires you that God uses every single situation, whether you were adopted, whether you were raised by a single parent, whether you were raised by a grandparent, whether you were raised by a cousin, whatever the situation is, Cynthia, every single one of those incidents or situations God has allowed to happen, and in the midst of the permissive will of God, he takes every single one of them to bring out the character in you that could not have been brought out without the use of those incidents. Okay, are y'all with me so far? This is important. And why, while I'm sitting back complaining, I'm not preparing the soil for the seed. I cannot get anything out of hard ground. Because what will happen is the enemy will come along, he'll see the seed because it's not able to get into the ground where the germination process takes place. He'll eat it up, go on about his business. And here's what the enemy does. The enemy causes us, because we have a lack of knowledge. We really don't know that God is working this out. We really don't know that God is in the midst of that, because in the midst of abandonment, hurt, pain, and all the rest of that stuff, then we look at God, who does not step in and slap the bejesus out of somebody while we're being abused. And we sit back and go, where is God at in the midst of that? And we forget that he's a present help. Let me help you. And I can go back to the book of Job to substantiate this in case you really don't believe that this is true. God places parameters and limits on the attack the enemy can bring into your life, because God already knows your limit. He already knows what will break you. He already knows what will destroy you. The problem is I don't know it. And so what happens is when Paul talks about I press, he says, I stretch toward the mark. God takes us through a process of pain and pleasure, of up and down, of in and out. And he uses each and every one of them to show us just how powerful God is. I'm getting ready. Can I go a little bit deeper with it? I'm getting ready to sound like T.D. Jakes. Can I go a little bit deeper with it? Even before you got saved, God was orchestrating. Even before you said yes to the Lord Jesus Christ, God was taking every, hey Sean, how are you? Every single misstep, misjudgment, good day, bad day, all of these things, because number one, he knew you would come to him. So he uses those things not to draw you, but to show you who he is once he gets you. Okay, let me press on. Let me press on, Rob. Brandon, I just needed us to get this so we can understand this clearly, okay? And so what I've got to learn how to do is make sure my heart doesn't get hard, because a hard heart cannot receive seed. A hard heart cannot receive the will of God, because here's what we do. We shut down. We close doors. We no longer want to hear. And not only do we no longer want to hear from people, we also don't want to hear from God. And so what we fail to understand is when I can't hear from God, I will never hear from people. And God will send people your way to help you through things. But because you've shut out God, now you've also shut out people. Sharon, this is the thing that many of us got to recognize and we've got to understand. So what do I have to do? I have to take what God has done in my life, the things that God has taught me, all of this stuff, because I got to make sure that when sowing time comes, the soil is appropriately prepared, because guess what? Seed can fall on a certain ground, thorny ground, can rise up and get choked out when issues come. How many saints do you know? And I'm going to say it, and I know people going to get mad when first time they go through something, they leave the church. First time they got a disagreement, they leave the church. They don't want to be bothered with that Negro in the pulpit. That ain't what they call him, but y'all know what I'm talking about. All of that kind of foolishness that goes on. And here's the problem. Y'all ready for this? This is really going to mess you up. It ain't the pastor they mad at, but he's the object of their own insecurities. It ain't the pastor they mad at. The pastor reflects what they could be, but the choices that they have made cause them to stay where they are. And rather than recognizing that this could be the process whereby God can develop you, you reject it and you regurgitate it, and you get mad and you blame the church, you blame church people, you blame preachers, you blame everybody else for the things you did, and it ain't nobody's fault but everybody else but you. I know y'all don't like me tonight, but I got to deal with what I got to deal with. Men are notorious at that. It's hard to follow you following black folk and everything else. Why is this so hard to follow? I can't do this. I'm not going to let that man tell me what to do. Okay, I almost said the wrong man. You let other men tell you what to do, but when it comes down to certain things of spiritual context, can't nobody tell you nothing. And the funny thing about it is, the person that can't nobody tell you nothing about when the mess hit the fan is the person you call. That's an amazing thing. So here's what we got to remember. It is the responsibility of the receiver to make sure that the soil is appropriately prepared, because it can fall on thorny ground. It can spring up. Listen. Because the first two, the birds get it and the sun destroys it. But here's what happens with the thorny ground. It springs up. These are the people who get excited about Jesus. They on fire for the Lord. Every time you see them, they got their hands lifted up. They're giving him glory and praise until trouble comes. When trouble comes, don't see them. Why? Because they've retreated. Rather than recognizing that the trouble was designed to go make you go back and take a good look at the ground so that you can prepare it for the next sowing season. Lord Jesus, help me to teach this like you gave it to me. Because there's sowing seasons. God don't just sow seed one time. And so this is what you've got to remember and to understand. Every year is a year of sowing. Which means what? If my ground ain't right, I learn from those moments of not receiving the seed. So when the next season of sowing comes, my heart is prepared so the seed can go down into the ground, it can germinate, and then it can produce something greater than the original content, which was a small seed, which is now flourished into something. Y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this? That can flourish into something that is a greater blessing to other people than yourself. God never places you in a position, Pastor Lane, whereby as he blesses you, so you can flaunt it into the lives of men and women and say, look at how spiritual I am, look at how great I am. No, God does these things preparing you for something greater, but greater can't come till the ground gets right. Lord Jesus, greater can't do it. Greater can't do it. Let me give you for instance, because here's what happens. Many of us will agree with the word, but we won't apply the word. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He uses an example in the book. He uses the example of forgiveness. We'll read there where the Bible says that if we don't forgive others their trespasses, God, oh yeah, that's good. Okay, I got that. I got that. Okay, I see that. And that's great. And when you walk away from it, no, God says, wait. When you go to bring your gift to the altar and you remember somebody can't stand you, your job is to go and get reconciled with them. And then if they don't want to hear you, that's fine. There's another process that takes place. But in the midst of that, okay, y'all not ready for this. You've got to learn how to let some things, some people, and some situations go. You can't keep holding on to stuff for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Some folk dead in their grave. And you still holding on to the foolishness that took place some time ago. You sitting up here bent out of shape, toe up about situations and people, and they could care less how you feel. And you still living in that thing as if it's still alive and real. Just like people, excuse me, who are time warped, who are still living in the 70s and the 80s because those were the best years of their lives. And what they failed to understand, it wasn't the best years of their lives. Those were the best years of molding in their lives, which should have been preparing them for 2020. Oh, Madam President, I see that you're on. Are y'all catching what I'm saying? This is overwhelmingly important for us to recognize and to understand. If you want something to grow, if you want to flourish, if you want to become what God would have you to become, the first thing starts with the ground, because seed can't grow in dry, hard ground. Hey, B, how are you? And this is important for us to recognize and to understand, all right? So when we talk about forgiveness, it can't be theory. Oh, yeah, okay, that's nice. The Lord told me. No, you actually do need to forgive them. No, you didn't hear what I said. It can't be theory. This can't be something you teach somebody else and don't apply it in your life as well. You've got to learn, excuse me, how to forgive. Don't consider God's truth as doctrine to believe, but you got to remember it's a reality that must be lived and experienced. In order for me to be free from me, not the other people, Juliet, not the people who have wronged me, in order for me to be free from me, because when I got unforgiveness flourishing in me, I'm my own worst enemy. Here's what I do. Are y'all ready for this? Are you sure you're ready for this? Here's what I do. I look for everything that's bad in you that reflects the bad in me. And I use you as the scapegoat rather than facing the fact that I'm living in unforgiveness. I'm lifting holy hands in unforgiveness. I'm singing in unforgiveness. I'm preaching in unforgiveness. I'm praying in unforgiveness. No, I've got to bring the reality of what I have read and bring the practicality of what it is into my life so that it transforms my life. And when my life is transformed, the people who have been observing my trouble, the people who have been observing my trauma, the people who have been watching me in the midst of the madness that's been going on in my life will begin to say, how did you stay sane and sober? Oh, bless his name. How did you do that? And you can tell them, when I look back over my life and see what the Lord has brought me through, I recognize all things work together for good to them that love God and are the called according to the purpose. And so we got to remember this. This can't be something you put on a shelf. This can't be something like that. You've got to bring, and you've got to have relativity. And here's what happens in many people's lives. The Bible is just a book. And what we fail to understand, I hope y'all ready for, are y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Okay. The Bible is God breathed. I'm getting ready to break something down for you, and I hope you can I take it a little deeper? Can I take it a little deeper? Can I take it a little deeper? If you remember when God created Adam, if you remember, all of the other animal life was created, and they roaming around. But when he created Adam, he breathed into him the breath of life. And the Bible says that Adam became a living soul, which meant, I don't think y'all ready for this. Put your seatbelts on. Mary, I don't think you're ready for this. I don't think you're ready, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Adam went from dust to eternal existence by God breathing in him the breath of life, which is eternal. Which means anything God breathes in lives. And it doesn't just live momentarily, but Raymond and Vernice, it lives eternally and in the power of his might. So now, when the Bible, which is God breathed, Jesus Lord, put your seatbelts on. Since the Bible is God breathed, that means whoever picks it up and ingests it, the same life-giving power that created Adam as a living soul is the same power that is able to help you overcome every single obstacle and situation that can ever come in your life. Oh God, help me. And the more I ingest the word, the more I become alive to the perpetuity whereby I was born. I've never been a mistake. I've never been a bastard. I've never been all of those other things. Yeah, I got my mama and daddy's ways. Yeah, I am what I am. But God intentionally breathed in me to come into existence because there's a purpose for me existing. I got to settle down. 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 I hope y'all catching where I'm coming from. You've got to understand that the more you ingest this book, the more you become alive. The more you ingest this word, the more the outlook on life changes, and also the way you interact with people changes. The things that you do change. Your attitude toward things change. It not only changes towards your present, but it'll also change towards your past. I'm alive. I'm a living soul, but I also got to know how to function in a hostile world. And how do I smile when I ain't got no money? How do I have joy when family members have dogged me? How do I continue to do what I do the way that I do and continue to give when I don't want to give, continue to do and be a part of people's lives that I know are just using me? It is because I know that God has invested in me. I need to let that marinate for just a minute. I know that God has, let me tell you how I know. When I was in sin, he kept me from dying. That's how I know God has invested in me. Are y'all ready for this? I got a couple of more minutes and I'm going to let y'all go. All right, I just need to know if you're ready for this. I know there's a delay, but I need to know if you're ready for this. I need to know if you are really ready for the rest of what I'm getting ready to share with you. I need to know that you're ready. Because, see, to say you're ready and to be ready is two different things. Because to be ready means you'll change your perspective so you can understand the power of the life of God that's inside of you. Because I'm coming from Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. Philippians, and let me share this, okay? Because I need to go on and say this and get this out the way. This is the reason why men won't come to Bible study or Sunday school. Because the enemy knows that if they ever wake up and live, this is the reason why men don't feel they need the church, because the enemy has filtered a lie into them that they ain't got to follow no man. And Satan says that's good, because it's that God man or the God woman that has the keys to your deliverance. And if they ever get you to pick up that book and you become a part of what it is, you'll recognize what it means to live. I know y'all don't like me. I know y'all don't. I know y'all don't, but I'm dealing with it the way I got to deal with it. So here's what he does, is he keeps us ignorant. And he causes us to still be boys. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And so, if you could ever, and I'm blessed. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm blessed because I got a boatload of men. And I push them just like I push the women. You got to grow. You got to grow. That's why you can't do certain things unless you're in Bible study or Sunday school. You can't be in leadership unless you're in Bible study or Sunday school. You can't do all of that unless you're a tither. You can't do that at 528 Lincoln Avenue, because I'm not going to have people in leadership that don't know nothing, that don't understand that the word of the Lord is how we have life and power. And that's male or female. So this is what you've got to know. If you ever get in this word and the word gets in you, you will live. And you won't half live. You won't partially live. You'll be so powerful in the word. Give an example. We got a crazy person that hangs around church all the time, and you know, she ain't always on her meds and all that kind of stuff. And I tell everybody ignore. You know, she was messing with the people, so I went over. And I said, girl, what you up to? Girl, yeah, I called you girl. Girl, what you up to? And she got to running off at the mouth, because see, when she ain't on her meds, she's delusional. So what comes out of her mouth, you can't take personal. Y'all better hear what I'm saying. You better hear what I'm saying. Can't take personal. You can't. See, that's the reason why we can't minister to people, because we take too much stuff personal. And she got talking about old crazy stuff and all of that kind of stuff and all this old mad stuff. I said, really? I said, you know what? We got other things to do. See you. What you mean? I said, you got to go. I said, get out the way. The truck getting ready to come. I'm grown. I said, I don't care how grown you are. Your grown butt going to be on the bumper if you don't get out the way. She moves out the way. What am I saying? I got the power. That when I step up, and she wanted to cuss me from Genesis to Revelation, but she couldn't get the cuss words out of her mouth. And then later on, when she went away, she started cussing. Listen to what I'm saying. Because it's not your word. Are y'all with me? I want you to get this if you don't get anything else. Yeah, Tom, you know what I'm talking about. And so in the midst of this, Philippians 1:6, he who started, who is he? God. I need to deal with that for just a second. Who is God? What is God? The creator and sustainer of everything that has been, is, and shall be. God. Are you catching what I'm saying? Whatever has been, is, and shall be, God. The ruler of everything. He who speaks into nothing and it comes into existence, God. He who stooped down in dust and made man, God. He who put man to sleep, took a rib out of his side, created a woman from the rib, God. He who in the midst of the garden, when they messed up and they tried to cover themselves and couldn't do it, and yet still he turned around and killed some animals and covered them because they didn't have the capacity to cover themselves. God. The God of everything that has been, shall be, and will forever be, God. The God who exists in time and eternity all at the same time, God. The God who exists in the third heaven, whereby we cannot fathom the dwelling place where God is, God. The God who wakes you up every morning before your alarm clock goes off, God. The God who sustains your bodily functions that you experience on a regular basis and you have absolutely nothing to do with it, God. The God who helps you to pay your bills, helps you to raise your children, God. The God that kept a roof over your head, and even if you were abandoned, and even if there were some moments when you were outdoors, God still kept you. God. God of the universe. He who started. And you got to remember something about God. God never starts anything he does not finish. The race has not been given to the swift nor to the strong, but to those who endure to the end. God. He who started a good work. We were created unto good works. Once the word of the Lord gets inside of me and it is germinated, it's generated, and now it's producing its good. Well, Jesus deals with that. He deals with the fact that good fruit can't come from a bad tree. Oh, God, help me, Jesus, help me. Good fruit can't come from a bad tree. If the tree is bad, the fruit is bad. If the tree is good, the produce is good from the tree. He who started a good work in you. That's as far as I'm going. That's where the Lord wants me to stop. He has started a good work in you. Don't worry about what he done did in somebody else's life. Don't worry about what's happening someplace else. Don't worry about what other people are doing someplace. He who has begun a good... Listen, are y'all ready for that? The God that I just described is the God who begun the work. And in the midst of you going through these psychological traumatic moments of craziness, feeling that, oh my God, God could never want it. He, God of the universe, of everything that exists, moves and lives in him, has started a work in you. A good work in you. That's why you ain't got to be jealous of somebody else's good work. There's some good work in you. That's as far as I'm going for tonight. Oh, bless his name. I pray that you got that. I pray that what I have shared, because I'm going to finish this next week. Oh, yeah. I sense it in my spirit. I'm going to finish this next week, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that he has invested in you. Here's the problem. You don't know it. You don't know it because you're so busy looking at what's not happening. You don't see what is happening. Listen, I want you to have a blessed evening. Let me share this with you from those members of the Union Church or whoever else is sharing with us on tonight. We will not be outside again. I am so sorry. Even though we'll be gaining an hour of daylight, it's still too cold. And so we're going to be inside. And so with us being inside, we're going to stream our worship service. I mean, we're in October heading to November. I got to make sure that I guard the people of God that I am responsible for, as well as we're preparing to start the work inside the sanctuary so that we can bring it up to par, make it look like it's supposed to look. For those who may not have done it yet, because I know there's always a lull that takes place in giving when you're not in the parking lots, if you would be kind enough to send your tithes and offerings to the Union Church. Here's what I need you to do. If you want to give through Givelify, or PayPal, you want to look up Union Baptist Church, 528 Lincoln Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio. If you want to give through Cash App, it's $Union, $UNION 528. You'll be able to give your tithes and offerings that way. You can call 330-746-1217. You can use your card to be able to sow your tithes and offerings into the Union Church. You can also, if you're on Union's Facebook page, you can follow the instructions and you can give to the Union Church that way. You can also, if you're on Union's website, or if you're not on Union's website, you can go to Union's website and you can go there and follow the instructions. There's a button there in order that you might give. If you would be kind enough, if you're in the Youngstown, Warren area, you can just drop your tithes and offerings into the secured mail slot on the front of the older building, and I guarantee you, will be good stewards of your gifts. And if you trust the post office, make your check out to Union Baptist Church and send it to 528 Lincoln Avenue, Youngstown, Ohio 44502. Thank you, LaVon. I appreciate that. Okay. Now listen, for those who are not members, hey Tracy, how are you? For those of you who are not members of the Union Church, but the Lord is leading you as as he has led others to invest in the work of ministry at Union, and this word has been a blessing to you, you can do so through the same avenues that I just talked about. Givelify, not YouTube, Givelify, PayPal, Cash App. You can call the church, 330-746-1217. You can do all of those things that I asked, and you will be able. I need you to sow into the ministry. I just need you to do that. If we're a blessing to you, I need you to sow into the work of ministry. We got a lot of things to do, even during a pandemic moment. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of a need for ministry, and we need you to do that. We need to get some work done, finished at the church, and we just need you to invest in us. Because I guarantee you, if you invest in the work of ministry at the Union Baptist Church, God will bless you above and beyond all your expectations. Listen, thank you so much, one and all, for allowing. There you go. Katrina's putting it up right now. She's putting up there right now. Probably need to pin it. I can't do it because I'm not on the thing. But if you pin it, it'll stay there for the next couple of minutes. As I share, yeah, there you go, as I share with you on tonight. Now listen, we need to continue to pray. It's an election season. There's some things, and I posted them on Facebook from the group that prayed with us last night. I guarantee you the next time we come together to pray, I will have this Zoom thing ready to roll to do what needs to be done. We need to pray. Things are getting out of hand. I just saw where an older gentleman was beaten because he had a Joe Biden sign in his yard. Beaten because that's his prerogative. Okay? That's his prerogative to put out in his yard what he wants to. 80-some years old, beaten. So this is what I need you to do. We need to pray. I'm going to put out on Facebook when the next prayer moment's going to come. And we're going to come together to pray. If you haven't voted, I don't know what you're waiting on. Let's get it done. Do not wait until November 3rd. Do not wait. Do not wait. Do not wait until that particular time. Listen, pray for us as we continue to do what God would have you to do. I love you one and all. I love you, each and every one of you. I thank you so much for trusting me and believing in the integrity of my ministry and the ministry of the Union Church. And for that, I give God glory and praise. Listen, you have a blessed evening in the Lord. Until we meet again, may God bless you and may He keep you, is our prayer.